There comes a moment in life when you understand a hard truth. No one is coming to save you. At first, this thought feels heavy. It feels lonely. It feels unfair. But this moment is not a curse. It is the beginning of strength. Stoicism teaches us that we do not control the world, other people, or events. We only control our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. When you accept this fully, you stop waiting. You stop hoping others will change. You stop blaming. Accepting that no one is coming to save you is one of the hardest truths to face, but it is also one of the most powerful. Most people go through life expecting someone else to fix their problems, to guide them when they feel lost, or to rescue them when situations become difficult. We are conditioned to believe that support will always be there, that someone will step in, that life will be easier with another person's hand guiding us. But reality does not always follow these expectations. Life is unpredictable, and relying on others to save us is a form of weakness. The moment you understand that no one is coming to save you, you stop depending on circumstances outside your control. You stop hoping for luck, or waiting for someone to give you permission to act. You stop seeking validation or rescue from others and begin to act with clarity, determination, and self-reliance. This realization is not meant to bring despair. At first, it may feel lonely or frightening. You may feel abandoned or overwhelmed. That is natural. Feeling this weight is part of understanding the truth of your own existence. It is part of growing into the kind of person who can stand firm, no matter what happens outside of them. Once you accept that no one is coming to save you, you begin to see life clearly. You stop being distracted by what others think or do. You stop blaming the world or other people for your struggles. Instead, you turn your attention inward, to the one place where real power exists: yourself. You start to notice that every obstacle, every challenge, and every disappointment is not a punishment, but an opportunity. When no one is there to save you, you have no choice but to save yourself. This is the essence of personal freedom and strength. You begin to take full responsibility for your actions, your emotions, and your decisions. You learn that waiting for someone else to intervene only delays your growth and weakens your potential. You take ownership of your life and stop giving away your power. Accepting this truth also changes the way you see others. You no longer expect people to act according to your needs or desires. You no longer feel frustrated when others fail to understand you or fail to help you. Instead, you respect your own independence and theirs. You focus on your own path and your own progress. You stop looking outward for answers and begin looking inward. This is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about clarity and wisdom. When you know that no one is coming to save you, you stop wasting energy on resentment, complaints, or excuses. You begin to focus on what is real: your actions, your thoughts, and your discipline. You start to prepare for life on your own terms. Every decision becomes yours, every responsibility becomes yours, and every success becomes meaningful because it is earned through your effort, not handed to you by someone else. You also develop a quiet courage. When you understand that no one is coming to save you, fear loses its hold. You realize that danger, failure, or hardship cannot truly harm you unless you allow them to control your mind. You are forced to trust your own judgment, your own strength, and your own resilience. In this way, the moment you accept that no one is coming to save you is also the moment you begin to grow unstoppable. You are no longer chained to dependency, hope, or expectation. You are free to act decisively, to live deliberately, and to face the world with clarity and courage. This understanding does not happen overnight. It is a process. At first, it may feel like a heavy weight pressing down on your chest, but gradually, as you confront it again and again, it becomes a source of liberation. The recognition that you are ultimately alone in your journey is the first step toward building unshakable inner strength. Focusing only on what you can control is a principle that changes the way you live. Most of us spend much of our time worrying about things we cannot change: other people's actions, the opinions of others, the way the world unfolds, and events that happen beyond our influence. We try to control situations that are not ours to control, and in doing so, we waste energy, create stress, and feel powerless. The truth is that the only things you can truly control are your thoughts, your choices, and your actions. Your mind, your decisions, and your behavior are yours alone. And when you focus on these, you reclaim power. When you realize that nothing outside of you can dictate your peace or your value, life becomes simpler. You stop being tossed around by every small disturbance or disappointment. You stop reacting to everything and everyone, and instead, you act deliberately. Focusing on what you can control is not passive acceptance. It is active engagement with reality. It means paying attention to your own mind, your own conduct, and your own habits. It means asking yourself every day, what can I do right now that is within my power? What choice can I make that reflects reason and integrity? What action can I take that aligns with my purpose and strengthens my character? This focus transforms uncertainty into clarity. When the world becomes chaotic, when other people are unpredictable, when events are unfair, you are not dragged into confusion. You anchor yourself in what you can influence. You practice patience, self-discipline, and calm judgment. By controlling your own mind and actions, you reduce anxiety. Fear and worry arise when we look outward and try to manipulate things beyond our reach. By turning inward, by mastering your thoughts, you prevent external circumstances from shaking you. You begin to respond rather than react. You begin to act with intention rather than impulse. When you focus on what is under your control, you also gain freedom. Freedom comes not from changing the world, but from mastering your response to it. You are free because your peace, your strength, and your purpose are not dependent on anyone else or on circumstances. You no longer hand over your happiness to luck, other people, or chance. You carry it inside yourself. This practice also builds resilience. Life will throw challenges at you, illness, loss, disappointment, betrayal. But if you focus on what you can control, you become capable of navigating them. You cannot stop the storm, but you can control how you sail through it. You cannot prevent hardships, but you can control your mind, your attitude, and your effort. Over time, this focus becomes a habit. It becomes natural to pause before reacting, to consider what is truly yours to influence, and to act from a place of reason rather than emotion. You begin to see clearly what matters and what does not. You stop wasting energy on what is meaningless and direct it toward what builds your character and your life. This focus also simplifies decision-making. When you ask yourself what is within your control, choices become easier. You stop worrying about pleasing everyone, avoiding criticism, or controlling outcomes. You stop trying to fix the unfixable and start doing what is real, effective, and meaningful. The world may be uncertain, and other people may act unpredictably, but when you concentrate on your own thoughts, choices, and actions, you create stability within. You become a force that is grounded, deliberate, and unstoppable. The more you practice this focus, the more effortless it becomes. Your mind becomes clear, your energy becomes directed, and your actions become purposeful. You are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances, but are guided by your own reason and judgment. This is the power of controlling what is yours and letting go of what is not. Stopping the search for approval and no longer relying on others is a turning point in personal strength. From a young age, people are taught to seek recognition, praise, and validation from those around them. We look for approval from family, friends, teachers, colleagues, or society. We measure our worth by compliments, by recognition, by acceptance. The truth is, when you depend on others to feel good, you give away your power. Your peace, your decisions, and your self-worth become tied to forces you cannot fully control. Other people have their own desires, biases, and limits, and they will not always respond in the way you hope. They may judge unfairly, misunderstand you, or act in ways that do not support your growth. Seeking approval is like trying to anchor your boat to shifting sand. It is unstable and unreliable. The moment you stop searching for it, you gain freedom. You stop bending yourself to fit someone else's idea of what you should be. You stop acting out of fear of criticism or rejection. You stop living a life designed for others and start living a life designed for yourself. This does not mean you stop caring for others or stop being kind and respectful. It means your motivation is internal, not external. You do what is right because it is right, not because someone is watching or applauding. You make choices that align with your values, not because they will make someone else happy. When you rely less on others, you become less fragile. Compliments no longer inflate your ego, and criticism no longer wounds your mind. You gain a stable sense of self-worth that does not fluctuate with circumstances or opinions. This stability allows you to act decisively, without hesitation or doubt. You no longer seek permission to move forward. You no longer wait for recognition to feel justified. Instead, you trust your own judgment and your own ability to navigate life. You learn to enjoy the quiet satisfaction of knowing you are acting with integrity, even if no one notices. This internal grounding is a source of resilience. When challenges arise, when others fail to support you, when circumstances are harsh, you do not crumble. You are not dependent on applause or encouragement. You rely on your own discipline, your own reason, and your own strength. In this way, independence from approval makes you unstoppable. You are free to pursue your purpose, to focus on growth, and to follow your path without distraction. You also become less reactive. When you no longer seek validation, jealousy, envy, and resentment lose their grip. You do not compare yourself to others or compete for attention. You focus instead on your own progress and your own mastery. This allows your energy to be used efficiently, rather than being wasted on worrying about how you appear to others. You learn that respect is earned through consistent action, not through seeking it. You act because it is right, not to be seen. You speak because it is necessary, not to be applauded. You pursue goals because they matter, not because they will impress anyone. Over time, the practice of stopping the search for approval strengthens your mind and character. Your confidence becomes internal, and your judgment becomes reliable. You are no longer a prisoner of other people's opinions. You are guided by reason, clarity, and self-respect. This independence is not isolation, it is empowerment. By relying on yourself first, you are able to form healthier relationships, take bold action, and face challenges with courage. You discover that the world is less intimidating when you are not looking to it for validation. You are capable of acting, thinking, and standing firm entirely on your own. Doing what is right, not what is easy, is a principle that separates those who live with strength from those who drift through life. Life is full of choices, and many of them are tempting because they appear simple, comfortable, or convenient. It is easy to take shortcuts, to avoid responsibility, to follow the path of least resistance. This path may bring temporary relief, but it does not bring growth. It does not build character. It does not create a mind that is calm in chaos or firm in difficulty. Choosing what is right over what is easy requires courage and discipline. It requires the ability to look beyond immediate comfort and consider the long-term consequences of every action. When you commit to doing what is right, you learn patience. You learn that the reward for integrity is often delayed. You may face criticism, misunderstanding, or even loss, but the value of acting correctly is not measured by recognition. It is measured by your own knowledge that you acted with wisdom and purpose. Doing what is right also requires self-control. It requires the ability to resist impulses that may be pleasurable in the moment but harmful in the long run. It means saying no to laziness, to selfish desires, to anger, or to fear when they urge you to act against reason. When you make the decision to do what is right, you begin to see life clearly. You begin to understand that comfort is not the goal, and that true strength is built in discomfort. Difficult choices train the mind to remain calm under pressure, to act with intention rather than reaction, and to face challenges without hesitation. Doing what is right also builds trust with yourself. When your actions consistently match your values, you no longer doubt your own judgment. You no longer hesitate when the path is hard, because you know that the right choice is always worth pursuing. This confidence allows you to move through life without fear of being swept away by opinion, circumstance, or misfortune. You become guided by reason rather than desire. You understand that life is not about avoiding struggle, but about meeting it with a steady mind. Choosing what is right over what is easy is not always popular. People may question your decisions. They may criticize your discipline or your patience. They may take the path of convenience, while you take the path of principle. This is natural. Doing what is right is often a solitary endeavor, because it requires independence from the expectations and pressures of others. Yet this solitude is not weakness. It is the foundation of power. It allows you to stand firm, to act decisively, and to build a life based on integrity. Life will test you in small ways and large. You will face choices that seem insignificant but reveal your character, as well as choices that shake your mind and spirit. In each of these moments, the decision to do what is right becomes a practice, a habit, a skill that strengthens with repetition. Eventually, choosing what is right becomes second nature. It is no longer a struggle. It becomes the way you move through the world. Your actions are deliberate, guided by reason, and aligned with your purpose. Doing what is right trains the mind, strengthens the will, and shapes the soul. It prepares you for challenges that cannot be avoided. It gives you a foundation that cannot be shaken. You discover that what is right is not always easy, but it is always within your control. The path may be hard, but it is also clear, reliable, and honorable. When you act from this principle, you cultivate courage, discipline, and inner peace. Using loneliness to build discipline and strength is one of life's greatest lessons. Many people fear being alone. They avoid it, fill it with distractions, or search constantly for company validation or entertainment. But solitude is not an enemy, it is a teacher. It is in moments of quiet and isolation that the mind becomes clear, the character becomes strong, and the spirit learns independence. When you are alone, you are forced to face yourself without excuses, without masks, and without distractions. You confront your fears, your weaknesses, and your patterns of thought. You cannot hide from yourself, and this confrontation is the first step toward growth. Loneliness provides an opportunity to develop discipline. When no one is watching, your choices reveal your true character. You may be tempted to give in to laziness, to fear, or to comfort, but the moments when you resist these impulses are the moments that build strength. Discipline is not built when life is easy, or when others are guiding you. It is built when you act consistently, responsibly, and with purpose, even in silence. The absence of others removes external pressure and forces you to rely on internal guidance. It forces you to act from reason rather than from influence. Loneliness also teaches self-reliance. When you depend on others for motivation, support, or validation, your mind becomes fragile. It can be swayed, shaken, or disappointed. When you learn to stand alone, to trust yourself, and to act with clarity in solitude, you become unshakable. You discover that your strength is not borrowed from others. It is inherent, and it grows each time you face life independently. Solitude gives space for reflection. It allows you to think clearly, to plan deliberately, and to evaluate your choices without distraction. In moments of quiet, you can see what truly matters. Separate the essential from the trivial, and align your actions with your values. Loneliness strips away the noise of the world and forces you to face the reality of yourself. This process builds resilience. Life will inevitably bring challenges, losses, and hardships. When you have spent time alone, cultivating discipline and self-reliance, these events cannot break you. You are used to standing firm without support. You are trained to respond with calm and reason rather than panic or dependence. Using loneliness in this way transforms it from a source of fear into a tool of power. It teaches patience, because solitude often requires waiting, enduring, and persevering without immediate reward or recognition. It teaches focus, because in isolation there is nothing to distract you from your purpose. It teaches endurance, because the mind must remain engaged and the spirit must remain strong, even without external encouragement. Over time, solitude becomes a companion rather than a burden. You learn to enjoy your own company, to trust your own judgment, and to find satisfaction in your own effort. You stop seeking constant reassurance or approval, and your peace becomes internal rather than dependent on circumstances or people. The strength gained from loneliness extends into all areas of life. When you are around others, you are no longer reliant on them to feel capable, confident, or motivated. Your relationships are healthier because they are chosen, not needed. Your actions are deliberate because they are guided by principle rather than influence. Your mind is clear because it is trained in independence and reflection. Loneliness, when used wisely, is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is training for life. It is a practice in discipline, resilience, and strength. It shapes the mind to be calm in chaos, the spirit to be steady in uncertainty, and the character to be unwavering in principle. In solitude, you learn that strength is not given, it is built. Seeing pain, discomfort, and obstacles as teachers is a principle that transforms how life is experienced. Most people naturally try to avoid pain and discomfort. We seek comfort, safety, and convenience, believing that life should be easy. When difficulties arrive, we complain, resist, or feel defeated. But pain and obstacles are not enemies. They are lessons. They reveal our weaknesses, our habits, and our thoughts. They give us a chance to grow, to learn, and to strengthen our character. Discomfort teaches the mind to remain calm. When you face challenges willingly, you discover that you are stronger than you believed. Small struggles prepare you for bigger ones. Each obstacle is like a weight in training. It is heavy at first, but with practice, it strengthens your endurance and sharpens your focus. Pain shows what truly matters. It separates what is essential from what is trivial. When life becomes difficult, superficial concerns fall away. You see clearly what is important: your actions, your integrity, and your response to the situation. Obstacles test patience and perseverance. When you are forced to work through hardship, you practice persistence. You learn to move steadily, step by step, without giving in to frustration or fear. This habit of endurance builds resilience, and resilience creates freedom. Freedom does not mean life will be easy. It means the mind is prepared to handle whatever comes. Discomfort also develops self-control. When life pushes you beyond comfort, you learn to master impulses and to act deliberately. Pain teaches restraint, humility, and discipline. It forces you to confront impulses, desires, and emotions that might otherwise control you. Every obstacle faced with reason and calmness strengthens the ability to make wise choices. Viewing challenges as teachers changes your relationship with fear. Many people fear failure, rejection, loss, or pain itself. This fear arises from seeing these events as threats rather than lessons. When you see obstacles as teachers, fear loses its power. You understand that difficulty is part of the process of becoming stronger and wiser. You begin to approach life with curiosity rather than anxiety. Challenges become opportunities for growth rather than punishments or setbacks. Pain also fosters awareness. When you experience discomfort, you notice your thoughts, reactions, and habits more clearly. You see patterns of weakness, areas for improvement, and moments of strength you may have ignored before. This awareness allows you to act with greater precision, purpose, and self-understanding. Obstacles teach creativity and adaptability. When the easy path is blocked, you are forced to think, to strategize, and to find new solutions. You discover the power of resourcefulness and flexibility. You realize that difficulty often reveals potential you did not know you had. Life does not give lessons in comfort. It gives lessons in challenge. Every hardship, every obstacle, every moment of pain is an opportunity to practice patience, courage, and reason. When you embrace them as teachers, you transform suffering into growth. You train the mind to remain calm, the heart to remain strong, and the spirit to remain steady. Over time, this perspective changes how life is experienced. Hardship is no longer a threat, but a tool. Pain is no longer a burden, but a guide. Obstacles are no longer barriers, but invitations to develop endurance, wisdom, and strength. By seeing life in this way, you are prepared for whatever comes, and your mind becomes unshakable. Trusting yourself and your abilities is a cornerstone of strength and freedom. Many people spend their lives seeking guidance, reassurance, or approval from others. We look for mentors, friends, or society to tell us what is right, what is safe, and what is possible. While advice can be helpful, over-reliance on others erodes confidence and slows action. True power comes from the ability to trust your own mind, judgment, and effort. When you trust yourself, you no longer wait for someone else to validate your choices. You do not hesitate because you fear criticism or doubt. You act deliberately, guided by reason and experience. Trusting yourself begins with understanding that your abilities are real, and they grow when you apply them. Every challenge faced, every skill practiced, every moment of effort builds competence. By focusing on your actions and learning from results, you strengthen both skill and confidence. Trusting yourself also requires honesty. You must be willing to acknowledge your weaknesses without shame, and your strengths without arrogance. You accept what you can do and what you cannot do yet, and you act accordingly. This clarity prevents wasted effort on things outside your reach while encouraging growth in areas within your control. Confidence is not blind, it is grounded in practice, reflection, and self-awareness. When you trust yourself, fear loses its grip. Fear often arises from uncertainty, from relying on others' opinions, or from imagining outcomes beyond your control. When your trust is internal, you face uncertainty with calmness. You know that whatever happens, you are capable of handling it. This trust allows decisive action. Hesitation often comes from doubt about ability, about judgment, about the future. When you trust yourself, hesitation is replaced by clarity. You make decisions quickly and act on them with confidence. Trusting yourself also encourages responsibility. You no longer blame others for failures, because you understand that your choices and actions matter. You take ownership of mistakes, learn from them, and adjust. This builds resilience and self-reliance, because you know that your fate is shaped primarily by your own effort and decisions. Trust develops over time. Each choice made with care, each challenge faced without avoiding responsibility, and each lesson learned strengthens the foundation of self-reliance. The mind trained in trust becomes steady under pressure, unshaken by criticism, and clear in the face of confusion. When you trust yourself, you also find freedom from dependence on approval or validation. You are no longer subject to the shifting opinions of others. You no longer need constant reassurance or recognition. Your peace, your direction, and your confidence come from within, and this is a strength no external force can take away. Trusting your abilities allows you to explore new opportunities, take calculated risks, and face challenges with courage. When others doubt you, you are not swayed. When circumstances are harsh, you act with reason. You recognize that effort, discipline, and persistence are the tools that build results, and your belief in yourself guides their use. Over time, this trust becomes a habit, a natural part of thinking and acting. You stop questioning your worth or abilities with every minor setback. You act, learn, adapt, and continue forward. Trusting yourself is not arrogance. It is clarity, discipline, and courage combined. It is understanding that your mind, your effort, and your choices are powerful, and that by relying on them, you gain independent strength and a calm certainty in facing life. Freedom and unstoppable strength come from self-reliance. Many people look outward for security, comfort, or power, believing that life depends on others, circumstances, or luck. We hope for help, guidance, or protection, and when it does not arrive, we feel fear, frustration, or helplessness. True freedom, however, does not depend on what is outside you. It depends entirely on what is within you, your mind, your choices, and your ability to act with reason and courage. Self-reliance is the foundation of this freedom. When you rely on yourself, you are no longer vulnerable to the whims, opinions, or actions of others. You understand that life will always present obstacles, challenges, and unpredictability, and you prepare your mind and character to face them. You stop giving away your power by waiting for external validation or help. You become capable of acting decisively in every situation. Unstoppable strength arises from the habit of taking responsibility for your own life. Every day presents choices, and each choice shapes your character, your destiny, and your sense of freedom. By consistently relying on your own judgment and effort, you build confidence that is not shaken by circumstance. When difficulties appear, you respond rather than react. You act from reason rather than from fear or desire. You have trained yourself to face hardship calmly, to endure discomfort patiently, and to pursue what is necessary without distraction or hesitation. Self-reliance also brings clarity. When you stop depending on others for direction, approval, or motivation, your mind becomes sharper. You see the world as it is, rather than through the filter of expectation, fear, or hope. This clarity allows you to make deliberate choices and to act with precision. Freedom and strength also grow from discipline. When you rely on yourself, you learn to manage your time, your energy, and your attention. You understand that every habit, every action, and every thought contributes to the strength of your character. You practice self-control because you know that only through your own effort can you achieve mastery over life. By relying on yourself, you are also less distracted by comparison, envy, or the need for recognition. You stop measuring yourself against others and focus on your own growth and purpose. This focus creates a steady, grounded power that is not shaken by external praise or criticism. Unstoppable strength comes from the combination of preparation, reason, and action. Life will always present challenges that cannot be predicted or avoided. Those who are self-reliant face these challenges with calm determination, knowing that their ability to endure, adapt, and act is greater than any external difficulty. Freedom and strength are inseparable. A person who depends on others for happiness, security, or success is bound to circumstance. A person who relies on themselves is free because their mind, effort, and character cannot be taken away. This self-reliance must be cultivated continuously. It requires constant attention to your thoughts, choices, and actions. It demands that you act consistently with integrity, pursue what is right rather than what is easy, and take responsibility for every outcome. In building this inner power, you discover a life that is not ruled by fear, opinion, or chance. You are able to face loss, failure, and hardship without collapse because your strength comes from within. You are free to act decisively, to think clearly, and to remain calm regardless of the external world. Every challenge faced with reason and courage strengthens this freedom. Every habit of discipline reinforces your power. Every decision to rely on yourself rather than others builds a foundation that cannot be shaken. In this way, self-reliance creates a mind that is unshakable, a spirit that is resilient, and a life that is guided by reason and purpose.